Have you ever wondered how a powerful, united nation can just crumble and split in two? It's a story that's played out countless times in history, but one of the most dramatic examples comes from ancient Israel. After the legendary King Solomon, his son Rehoboam took the throne, and everything changed. It's a classic tale of pride, bad advice, and huge consequences. Let's dive into how one king's terrible decision led to a divided kingdom. When Solomon died, the people of Israel were tired. They had been under heavy taxation and forced labor for decades to fund Solomon's ambitious building projects, like the magnificent temple in Jerusalem. So, they went to the new king, Rehoboam, with a simple request: lighten our load, and we will serve you faithfully. It seemed like a reasonable deal, right? Rehoboam was at a crossroads. First, he did something smart. He went to the elders, the wise men who had advised his father, Solomon. They gave him some solid advice. They said, "If you'll be a servant to these people today and serve them, and speak good words to them when you answer them, then they will be your servants forever." Basically, show some compassion, ease up on them, and you'll win their loyalty for life. It was a win-win situation. But Rehoboam was young and insecure. He wasn't convinced. So, he turned to his buddies, the young men he had grown up with. The guys who probably just wanted to party and enjoy the perks of being in the king's inner circle. He asked them for their opinion. Their advice was the complete opposite. They told him to project strength, to show everyone who was boss. They said, "You should tell them, my little finger is thicker than my father's waist. My father laid a heavy yoke on you, but I will make it even heavier. My father scourged you with whips. I will scourge you with scorpions." It was the ultimate power move, a display of pure arrogance. And for some reason, Rehoboam thought this was a brilliant idea. He chose to listen to his young, inexperienced friends over the seasoned elders. When the people came back for his answer, he delivered that harsh, insulting message. He doubled down on his father's oppressive policies, promising to be even tougher. Well, you can probably guess how that went over. The people were furious. They felt disrespected and completely ignored. This was the last straw. 10 of the 12 tribes of Israel said, "We're done." They looked at Rehoboam and essentially said, "What share do we have in the house of David? We have no inheritance in the son of Jesse. To your tents, O Israel." And just like that, they broke away. The united kingdom that David and Solomon had built was shattered. This rebellion wasn't just a spontaneous outburst. It had been brewing. While Solomon was still king, a man named Jeroboam had been told by the prophet Ahijah that he would one day rule over 10 of the tribes. The prophet even acted it out, tearing a new garment into 12 pieces and giving 10 to Jeroboam, symbolizing the coming split. Solomon found out and tried to kill Jeroboam, who then fled to Egypt for safety. But as soon as Solomon died, Jeroboam returned. The rebellious tribes immediately turned to him, the man who had already been prophesied to be their leader, and they made him their king. So now, you have 2 separate kingdoms. Rehoboam was left with just 2 tribes, Judah and Benjamin, which became the southern kingdom, known as Judah. Its capital remained Jerusalem. Jeroboam became the king of the other 10 tribes, which formed the northern kingdom, also called Israel, or sometimes Ephraim after its most powerful tribe. The division was complete. This political split immediately created a religious crisis, especially for Jeroboam. The spiritual heart of the nation was the temple in Jerusalem, which was now in Rehoboam's territory. Jeroboam was worried. He thought, if my people keep going to Jerusalem to worship God at the temple, their hearts will eventually turn back to their rightful king, Rehoboam. They'll kill me and go back to him. He needed to create a new religious center to keep his people within his borders and loyal to him. So, he came up with a plan that would have disastrous long-term consequences. He built 2 golden calves, one in Bethel in the south of his kingdom and one in Dan in the north. He told the people, "It's too much for you to go up to Jerusalem. Here are your gods, O Israel, who brought you up out of Egypt." This was a direct echo of the terrible sin the Israelites committed at Mount Sinai with the golden calf. Jeroboam wasn't just creating a convenient place to worship. He was leading his entire nation into idolatry. He also established his own priesthood, appointing men who were not from the tribe of Levi, which was God's chosen line of priests. He created new festivals that mimicked the ones in Jerusalem. In short, he created a state-sponsored counterfeit religion to secure his political power. This act, known as the sin of Jeroboam, set the northern kingdom on a path of spiritual decline from which it would never recover. Nearly every king who followed him in the north is described in the Bible as continuing in the sin of Jeroboam. It was a legacy of disobedience. Meanwhile, in the southern kingdom of Judah, things weren't perfect either. Rehoboam's reign was also marked by idolatry and unfaithfulness. Although they had the temple and the legitimate priesthood, the people and the king often strayed. The kingdom of Judah did have a more stable lineage, with the line of David continuing on the throne, and they experienced periods of reform under good kings who tried to bring the people back to God. But they also had many wicked kings who led the nation astray. The division of the kingdom had devastating consequences for both sides. Politically, they were weaker. Instead of being a unified regional power, they were now two smaller, rival nations. They were constantly at war with each other and more vulnerable to attacks from powerful foreign empires like Egypt, Assyria, and later, Babylon. Their internal conflict strained their resources and manpower. Spiritually, the division was a catastrophe. The northern kingdom was plunged into idolatry from its very beginning. Prophets like Elijah and Elisha were sent to call them back to God, but their warnings were largely ignored. The southern kingdom of Judah had its ups and downs, but the constant temptation of idolatry and political alliances with pagan nations also eroded their faithfulness. The prophets repeatedly warned both kingdoms that their disobedience would lead to judgment, and eventually it did. The northern kingdom of Israel was conquered by the Assyrian Empire around 720 BC. The Assyrians carried the people into exile and scattered them, and those 10 tribes became known as the last tribes of Israel. They lost their land, their king, and their national identity. The southern kingdom of Judah lasted longer, but they didn't escape judgment either. Despite the warnings of prophets like Isaiah and Jeremiah, they continued in their unfaithfulness. In 586 BC, the Babylonian Empire, led by King Nebuchadnezzar, conquered Judah, destroyed the beautiful Temple of Solomon in Jerusalem, and carried the people into exile in Babylon. It's an incredibly tragic story, and it all started with one leader's decision. Rehoboam's pride and his choice to listen to foolish, arrogant advice over wise, compassionate counsel tore a nation apart. He failed to understand that true strength in a leader comes not from dominance and oppression, but from service and humility. He valued power over people, and the result was division, conflict, and ultimately, the destruction of the nations he and Jeroboam ruled. Jeroboam, on the other hand, let his fear and political ambition led him to compromise his faith and led an entire nation into sin. He was so focused on holding onto his earthly kingdom that he caused his people to lose their spiritual inheritance. The story of the divided kingdom is a powerful reminder of the importance of wise and humble leadership. It shows how pride can lead to ruin and how a lack of wisdom can have consequences that ripple through generations. It's also a testament to the importance of unity. When the people of God were divided, they became weak and vulnerable. When they were unfaithful, they lost the very blessings they had been promised. It's a lesson that is just as relevant today. In our communities, our organizations, and even our own lives, the choice between pride and humility, between selfish ambition and serving others, can make all the difference. Rehoboam's story is a timeless warning against the dangers of a hard heart and a deaf ear to wise counsel. Thanks for watching, and if you found this story interesting, be sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into history. See you next time, and God bless.